Welcome in, Embers, or if you're new, welcome to the Campfire Crew. My name is Sarah, my pronouns are they, them, and let's just get started. So this is my pan those eyeshadows, and I should just say right off the bat first, sorry for the lighting. This side of my face, the window's over there. I don't know how to film where the window's over there, and my laptop won't charge, so I can't plug in my ring light to even out my lighting. So sorry about that. Hopefully I'll figure it out soon. Second of all, I know it's been a while. I kind of took some time off. I didn't plan to take time off. I just kind of stopped filming, editing. So I'm trying to get back into it, but yes, my hair is different now. It has been a couple of months, but I am going to start from where we left off. I haven't been using makeup, so there's not like a huge update. Yeah, so we're just gonna pretend nothing happened. Time has not passed, because that's where my collection is. So if you don't know, this is Project Level Up. You usually randomize a palette, and then on level 1, you use every shade once and hit pan on one eyeshadow. This is the light version. So for my first palette, my goal was to use every shade once and then one shade used 5 times. And then for level 2, use every shade twice, and then I'm going to use that 6 times, and so on and such forth. So my first palette was the Big Cheese by I Heart Revolution, which I got as a handy-down. I didn't get a picture of this when I first got it, but it was pretty new. Most things had a couple of uses, and one thing had a little bit more use, but I'll put up a picture of what it looked like brand new, and then I will show you what my palette looks like. There we go. This is what my palette looks like now. As you can see, I destroyed a few shades in here. So I'm going to take a picture of this, and I'm going to just have it here so I don't need to hold it up the entire time, and we'll just talk through the shades. So the first shade is Gouda, and I used that one time. Blue Cheese, this green shade, which I don't know why it's called Blue Cheese and not a blue. That seems weird to me, but whatever. I used one time. Swiss cheese, I used once. Provolone, I used once. Mozzarella is that light pink, and I actually used that twice. Brie, I used once and decided it was too close to a color in my Be Perfect Carnival 3 palette, and I just like that palette better. So I ended up taking that shade out. Feta as well, I just felt like was too similar to a lot of other things I have. And even I think it was really similar to String, which is in this palette. I'm not a huge fan of this palette. I thought that the quality was okay, but I didn't really love it. Yeah, I think the quality's kind of mid. There's a few shades that I'm thinking about maybe depotting, because I'm not sure if they're very good, but I want to give them a chance. And then I'm really keeping this because there's a couple of shimmers I really like, and that's about it. Honestly, I might just depot the shimmers I like, but I don't know where, I don't have anywhere to put them, so we'll see how it goes. So after Feta, the shade I took out, we have Camembert, which is the shade I ended up deciding to use the most. This shade I'll show you in person. This is this shade here. You can see up top there's a little bit of a dip, and that's because I used it 6 times. It's right here. You can see the little dip. And I just think it's such a pretty shade. I think it might be my favorite in this palette. It's a really light gold, and I don't actually have any really light golds like this, and I just thought it was so pretty. And then we have Cottage, which I used twice, but looks a lot actually like a shade I have in my inner corner. So the one right here and in my inner corner, when it's not paired with purples, it's like a purple pink. So if it's paired with pinks, it can look very pink. If it's paired with purples, it can look very purple. But I think it's really similar to Cottage. So I might take Cottage out of here, but I haven't decided yet. Then we have Monterey Jack, which I used once. String I used once. Parmesan was a blue metallic. I only know that because there's blue metallic shimmers underneath of it. But I thought this was such a bad shade. I really wanted to like it because it was a mid-tone blue shimmer. And that should be my jam. I think that's so sick. I don't have any mid-tone blue shimmers. I only have a really dark shimmer, but it barely showed up on my eyes. It was bad. It was bad, bad. So I had to pull it out. The next shade is Cheddar, which I kept in because I believe it reminds me of a shade from the Meet Me in the Underworld palette, which I really want to buy at some point. I really want it. But I want to work through what I have in my current collection before I buy new makeup because I just don't wear makeup enough to have that many palettes. Nacho, I took out. I don't even remember what Nacho looked like, to be honest. Then we have Goats, which is the shade that was used the most in here. Oh, Nacho I used once. I believe it's also a light pink, if I remember rightly. There was a lot of light pinks in this palette. For a palette called the Cheese palette, there's not a lot of yellows. There's like a couple of yellows, but I figured there'd be lots of yellows and oranges and maybe some blues. But it's very pink focused, and it's just all around quite a disappointing palette. Where are we? Oh, then we have Goats, which is the one that was used the most before I received it, and I used that once. It's quite a pretty orange, and I'm glad I have an orange shimmer now, because I wear a lot of oranges. Then we have Elemental, which is, I believe on the eye, it's a really pretty kind of gray toned brown, and I used that once. I used Manchego, which I'm pretty sure was also a light pink, again, if I remember rightly. I'm pretty sure most of the shades that I pulled out of here were a light pink. I used that once, and I used Roquefort, the light blue, twice. And this is another shade I'm considering pulling out because it was not very good quality, but I don't have anything else like it. I love the color of it, but it just doesn't really show up. So I might just give up on it despite being a cute color because it just doesn't do anything for me. And as you can see, I like noticeable makeup. I don't want to wear makeup if nobody knows I'm wearing makeup. That just seems like effort for no fucking reason. You know? I'm that kind of bitch. Anyway, so that is my I Heart Revolution The Big Cheese palette. I haven't used it since. Like I said, I haven't been wearing makeup. I don't know how much use I'm gonna get out of this. And I've kind of decided in the time where I've been away that I'm not gonna fuss with panning these palettes, with getting tons of use on them, even though I usually would be the type to try and use everything up. I don't want everything to go to waste, that kind of thing. I just feel like I didn't buy this palette. I didn't ask for this palette. Even though it is now in my collection, I don't feel as responsible for it as I do the other things. It's more like I've been gifted something that is now mine. I can use enough, but like, you know, I don't know if I'm going to use this a ton, but I will add it into my collection, and now I have it, and I might again keep taking out shades. I don't know how many, at the end of the day, how many shades are going to be really left of this that I'm going to actually get use out of. I feel like Camembert, Monterey Jack, Gouda, so the yellows, Provolones are really pretty penny color. I might get use out of that. Goats, I think I'm going to get a use out of, maybe Blue Cheese. But also Blue Cheese, speaking of, is similar to another palette I received. So I'm going to be comparing those soon. And I've completed that palette. So level 1 is done. And I have decided to pick for myself. I randomized that palette, but I decided to pick for myself the next palette that we're going to use because it is now summer. Originally, I had a plan to use my, let me pull it out, my Def Leppard palette, because inside it's actually it feels very spring with a lot of these light shades, but it is no longer spring. I waited a whole season. Oh my God, it's so hot. I had to turn off my AC so you guys could actually hear me because it's right next to me. You would hear it and not me. But because it's not spring anymore, I decided to pull out a summer palette. So one of the palettes I received at the same time as the Big Cheese palette is the NYX Professional Makeup Ultimate Shadow Palette. And this is what it looks like. I believe I've used a couple of these shades, but I haven't even put it into my notebook yet. None of them have names either, and I think that's why I haven't put it in yet, because I'd have to name it like pink, light pink, coral, kind of red. You know what I mean? But I think for the summer, this is gonna be really good. I would love to compare the yellows in this to the Big Cheese palette, because if for example, if Monterey Jack and this color are the same, and I like this palette overall better, if Blue Cheese and this shade end up being the same on the eye, I could get rid of the Blue Cheese. But I'm suspecting the NYX Ultimate Bright palette, I don't think that's what it's called. The NYX Ultimate palette might be better quality than this one, just because I know a lot of people have these NYX bricks and really like them. So I'm expecting this to be better quality than this one. So if it is better quality, whichever one's better quality, I'll probably, if this one's better quality for duplicate shades, I'm probably gonna just take them out of this. And what I do when I took them out is I took out all of the eyeshadow and then recycled the pan and put in the garbage the shadow itself, so that way the pans actually do end up going in recycling and can be recycled easily. But yeah, I'm gonna compare all of these shades, whichever ones kind of match. I might even compare this one and Rockford, even though they're not really the same. Because Rockford has so little pigment, I feel like this might be a better dupe for it. But I'm gonna compare similar shades, and I might take more out of this palette. And if I do, I'll update that for you next month. I am going to be waiting a month and a half to update this because it is the middle of the month now. It's actually kind of like the end of this month now. My next pay, I have to pay rent. Anyway, aside from rent, so I'm gonna be waiting a month and a half to update this for you. I'm going to be doing an update at the end of August, so at the end of Pride, because in my eyes, Pride lasts all summer. So I might try and do some like Pride looks with this, maybe like a bi flag, you know, just kind of do some Pride looks with this. It's very bright, so it's very summery. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I will see you soon this time. I am updating my pan those palettes in 2 weeks, because I do get progress more easily on those. So I am gonna update that soon, so that should be out soon. And I will see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye. What the fuck is the name of this video?